Hello there, welcome to the Knife Lab. I'm Pete and this is my co-host Brickard.
Which human can cut rope the longest until death? I volunteer Pete as tribute.
Nope, they're definitely going to notice that the voice-to-text program has changed its voice.
And we are doing some D2 steel testing today. But before I start, I've been told it is prudent to remind you all to subscribe. That's right. When I have gaps between videos, the best way of being first in the queue is subscribing. I'll come up in your subscription feed. You'll never miss an episode of the Knife Lab ever again. So do that. Now, we're talking D2 today. It's a fairly common budget steel suddenly. Suddenly budget steel D2. I remember when it was a bit of a fancy steel. Back in my day, anyway. Budget steel today. Sometimes still fancy steel. I've got a fancy D2 knife here as well. This is the Dozier hunting little sheath knife. I don't know what its name is. And then we've got a CJRB mini feldspar or small feldspar. We've got a Civivi this knife. I don't know what it is. It's got an annoying handle with finger grooves in it. Ugh. No one likes that, do they? And then I've got an Ontario Rat number 2 in D2. A classic, really. Much desired. When they finally put this blade into D2, it went to the top of most reviewers' best knives under X dollars list. So it is good value, good knife. D2 steel is good stuff. The only drawback of it is it's only semi-stainless, so it will tarnish just a little bit. But overall, it's going to get you pretty good cutting power. Sometimes when you use it in heavier chopping or torquing applications, it can chip just a little bit. That's just an anecdotal account that you hear often. But generally, for EDC use, it's going to be pretty cool. Pretty cool. Just take a little bit more care of it. But what we're looking at today is how much all these compare in edge retention. So we're doing the same thing with all 4 knives. We're cutting twisted sisal rope until they no longer cut or slice through easily a held sheet of paper. I'm going to use the same amount of the blade and I'll put the same edge on each blade. That's a 1500 grit, semi-polished. It's a shiny edge, it's not a mirror edge. Then stropped on a 0.1 micron strop just for deburring and honing and whatnot. So I'm pretty happy that all these 4 knives have the same edge on them. We're then going to cut the rope and see how many cuts, count as I go, how many cuts each one does before it no longer slices the whole sheet of paper. That's the test. There's other tests out there, but this one is mine. So let's get into it. I'm going to do a shorter video today. I just get to the results. Let's do all 4 at once. Split screen action. Let's do it. GoldenEye 64.
Perfect dark. A gentleman's game.
Alrighty, the results are in. So, all good results. D2 is generally pretty good steel unless it's really badly messed up. So, with the same edge, or what I'm satisfied is the same as I can get it. The lowest result was the Ontario Rat 2 with 300 passes. At 300 passes, it began to skip out, making a smooth cut. So, in my opinion, the absolute edge was then slightly dulled. Still a very sharp knife. You could still easily trim your pubes with this knife. Next up was the Kajerb, which is cut 325 times before it had the same feeling edge. So that's in line with what it got last time. I don't think it's the same. I think it's a little bit more, but then numbers so small it would just come down to the random environment as well. So good heat treatment on this one as well. All these are good heat treatments. I'm going to say any of these are trash. Civivi did really well next. They cut 375 times with this particular blade here. So that's a good result. That's the best of the productions. Spoilers and who's won this, of course. 375 on this guy. Geez, I hate handles like this with all the grooves in them though. Just unless your hand's just right, it doesn't fit, and it's annoying to cut repetitive rope with. So competition rope cutters out there, no good. And lastly was the Dozier little hunting knife. Cut the rope 425 times before the edge felt the same as the others, that stopping point. So I would wager that this has probably got a slightly higher hardness. I think I remember it being 61 or something, I can't remember. I've done this knife before and I think it got a similar-ish score as well. You can check the Dozier video on this one. If you're ever wondering what type of blade steels I've done, just do a YouTube search, Cedric Ada, and then the steel, and it'll probably come up, unless it's some really exotic steel I haven't got to yet. So there you go. There is seemingly a difference. Not all D2 is created equally, and that shouldn't be news to anyone, but we've got a little bit of a jump from factory to custom, which is to be expected as well. As I always say, a custom maker will lovingly heat treat, or they'll have an idea of a type of treatment they want, rather than just going perhaps a bit safer, a bit more homogeneous, a bit less, huge batch error margin-ish as well. So at any rate, I could pretty confidently say that this result is high enough to be outside of just standard error margins. So USA, I guess. USA, A-OK. See you all in the next video, guys. Goodbye.